At age 33, I went into labor to deliver my fourth child and suffered what they call postpartum hemorrhage. I know very little about, I knew then very little about that. But all I know is that I was bleeding to death. Dr. Chipangwi saved my life. At that moment, 900 women plus were dying giving birth. By 2012, when I took up leadership as head of state, 675 women were dying giving birth out of every 100,000. My position is that it's not acceptable for any woman to die giving life. What makes me very angry is that in the West, a woman is pregnant, it's a time of expectation and joy. Where I come from, a woman is pregnant, it's time of anxiety, because she might go and never come back. I was lucky to come back, and I know that's what woke me up to the fact that what about those that didn't have a husband that could go looking for a doctor to come and save her life? So the moment I became head of state, before I appointed my first cabinet, I established what I called the Presidential Initiative on Safe Motherhood and Reproductive Health. The first was to mobilize local leadership. In a country like Malawi, the chiefs on the ground are the custodians of tradition. And so, therefore, the chiefs can decide that in my village, no woman shall deliver in the village. No traditional birth attendant shall help assist any woman to give birth in the village. The chief can say, from today onwards, every woman shall deliver at a clinic. And that's what we promoted. We encouraged chiefs, mobilized them, formed a committee, and I called them my champions and told them that women were dying because they have decided that women should die. From there onwards, there was progress. Women were not delivering in the village. Traditional birth attendants were banned, so no more would anybody deliver babies in the village who was not a trained person. Number two, it was to mobilize chiefs and to ban TBAs, but also to mobilize women to get education. We also mobilized men in the villages to participate, to take part, to be interested in this process, in this period when their wife was pregnant, which was not there before. But now there were messages in the villages that encouraged men to take their wives to a clinic, to feel proud, to prepare for their wives' delivery at the clinic. The fifth one was to mobilize the private sector, to ensure that the private sector, their social responsibility was being directed towards the construction of what we call in Malawi holding shelters, where women who are coming from very far away can travel to a clinic 2 weeks before and stay in those shelters and wait for their due date, so that they don't waste time walking and lose life in the process. The sixth one was the training of nurses. Our friends from all over the world were mobilized to provide training. And because sometimes when a woman is trained coming from a certain area, they relocate and go and live in town. They had to sign an agreement to say, I come from a section X. When I get training, I shall work here in this village, in this small clinic. Because of the mobilization of women to go and deliver in hospitals, there was pressure and congestion at the clinics at grassroots. So therefore, we that's the reason why we had to mobilize chiefs in order, and the private sector, to provide infrastructure at the clinics. Finally, we built 22 holding shelters with the support of the private sector. I was surprised that when I asked any company to build a shelter at a clinic, it was as if they had been waiting. Why didn't you ask? So I feel that there's a lot of potential for us, activists, government, to engage the private sector to build shelters, to build facilities